Week 10. Cleveland has 10 wins despite using 4 different starting quarterbacks this season. The team holds the AFC's top wild card spot and would be just 1 game behind the Ravens for the division if Baltimore loses to the 49ers tonight. Shannon, are the Cleveland Browns legitimate Super Bowl contenders with Joe Flacco as their quarterback?
As good as he's looked, let me take that back. As great as Joe Flacco has looked, and we understand what that defense, they're number 1 in pass defense. I still don't think they have enough offensively because now they had Nick Chubb,
right,
and they have Joe Flacco playing like this. I would agree with you, but they don't run the ball well enough for me since Nick Chubb has been out. But Joe Flacco has been sensational, and I broached this last night on Nightcap. You tell me the 4-game stretch in which Deshaun Watson has looked this good in the Cleveland Browns.
It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. And I can't think of a 2-game stretch in which Deshaun Watson has looked like that.
And Joe Flacco got off his couch out of a carpool lane and came in and is doing this. He's been sensational, but I'm going to say no because I think if they play the Ravens in the playoffs, I think if they play the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs, I think those are teams that could get away from them offensively. And so I'm going to say no, but they look really good. Amari Cooper was sensational yesterday.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Shannon Sharp, I'm going to disagree with you.
Wow.
I'm going to say
wow.
Yes. Check this out. 10-7, 10 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions, 3-1 as a starter. We're talking about Joe Flacco, who you said has been sensational.
Yes.
Here's where it gets interesting. I got Amari Cooper as a legit number 1.
Oh, he is,
what he can do as Amari Cooper, right?
Yeah.
Njoku is a weapon from your tight end spot who can do big things for you. You should appreciate that.
I do.
I'm talking about one of the greatest tight ends in the history of football, okay? You should appreciate that. Kareem Hunt is no scrub.
No.
Okay, so it's not Chubb.
Forward.
It's not Chubb, all right? The offensive line, when you protect Flacco, he can throw the football. And then we got to go to the defensive side of the ball. Cleveland's defense is no joke, particularly the ability to get to the pass, to the passer, right?
Yep.
So now here we go. Let's analyze this for a second. In Kansas City, we got receivers that can't catch.
True.
Okay. In Miami, we've got somebody in Tua who looks spectacular when protected. When under duress, not so much.
Right.
We've got a guy in Josh Allen. We know what he's capable of positively, but negatively can obviously struggle from time to time in terms of turning over the football because he engages in hero ball, okay? If we take that into consideration, now we got to get to the division rivalry that is the Baltimore Ravens. And you said it, you, RC, and everybody else that's played football has taught me, you can never dismiss division rivals.
Nope.
So when I look at it from that perspective, by default, if Joe Flacco is throwing the football effectively, it really comes down to the offensive line. Is the Cleveland Browns offensive line good enough to protect Joe Flacco no matter who they'll go against in the AFC? I asked you that question.
Yeah, because there's no pass rush that's relentless that you're like, oh my God, there's just no way to protect him. The thing that concerns me about the Cleveland Browns, and I've watched him since he's been in there, is he turns the ball over. You mentioned the 10 touchdowns and the 7 interceptions.
That's true.
And once you get to the playoffs, you play double for turnovers. And so, you throw you have 2 interceptions in a playoff game, and probably they're going to be on the road because they are a wild card. That's going to probably get you in trouble, Stephen A. But I've been very impressed with the way they played. They got Myles Garrett. They got Zadarius Smith on the other side that can get pressure on your quarterback. Denzel Ward on the back end. They fly around to the football. This is a very good football team, especially defensively. They're better defensively than they are offensively. But I just don't know if they have enough. But I am shocked that they have this record, considering the quarterback play, the way Deshaun played when he was in there, and then he goes out, and then they lose 3 other quarterbacks, and Flacco comes in.
200-yard receiving game for Amari Cooper. The 3rd team he's done it with in his career.
Only
other receiver is Terrell Owens, who's done that in his career. Major props to him for that. I ask you this last question. When you look at Baltimore, if Baltimore shows up and for any reason they get exposed to some degree, everybody ain't San Francisco, we understand that. But if you see something from Baltimore tonight that makes you diminish your expectations for them in any way, what does that do for Cleveland?
Well, because I don't believe Cleveland possessed the offensive arsenal. Because the 49ers can make a lot of teams look bad because they have so many playmakers. They have the Debo, they have the Ayuk, they have the Kittle, they have Christian McCaffrey, solid offensive line led by Trent Williams.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan calling the plays.
That's right.
very few offenses possess that with Brock Purdy at the helm. Defensively, they're not great. They're very good. They're not great defensively, but they're very good. I don't see anything that the Ravens could do tonight because I know Lamar Jackson at any given moment can run into the phone booth and change out of his ordinary clothes and put a cape on.
Right.
So I know he's more than capable of doing that. And we've seen him do heroic things. But do I believe Cleveland can go back on the road again and beat the Baltimore Ravens? I do not.
I tell you this much: when San Francisco had a losing streak this year, it was started by Cleveland beating them. Just wanted to throw that in there. We'll see. We'll see.
Debo got hurt.
How about
Trent
it?
got hurt.
I agree. But they still lost. A loss is a loss. You told me no excuses. You told me no excuses. That's what Shannon Sharp taught me. That's what Shannon Sharp taught me. Still to come, y'all.
That blocks downfield for wide receivers when they catch the ball. And he's also the most integral chess piece to the most diverse offense in football today. And then when you look at the other side, at the Brock Purdy's, and how he's executed within this offense, he's shown you that he's not just a game manager. He's the best that Kyle Shanahan's ever had. He's much like Matt Ryan was when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, who, by the way, also won the MVP. I believe that Lamar Jackson is a long shot. And wasn't elite. I believe that Lamar Jackson is a long shot because in the end, they're going to look at his numbers from this year and compare them to his MVP numbers. When you're the Lamar Jacksons of the world, when you're the Patrick Mahomes of the world, sometimes you're fighting against yourself. And I don't believe that Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey have to do that. And by the way, they're having the best seasons of their career.
I agree with y'all, but I'm going to hold out hope for Lamar Jackson in this respect. I don't think it's going to happen. Let me preface it by saying that. But what if the Baltimore Ravens were to blow out San Francisco? What if Lamar Jackson puts on the show? What if he does so without this cat Keaton Mitchell available to him, who's probably going to be out for the season? Knowing the load that he has to carry, knowing they're 11-3, seeing all the hoopla coming into the game and how they feel disrespected because they're such a considerable underdog in this game. I'm looking at all of those elements. I'm looking at what we're seeing from San Francisco, 6-game winning streak, averaging 34.5 points, winning by 12 or more points in each of those games. If Lamar Jackson shows up on national television on Christmas Day and shows out in a way that far usurps the performance of a Brock Purdy and a Christian McCaffrey, I think all of a sudden that could create some interest over the last 3 weeks of the season.
He will need to have one of those games. RC, you remember that Monday night game he had against the Rams where he had 5 touchdowns and he dazzled with his legs and his arms?
That's right.
If you were to have one of those games, Stephen A., all bets are off because it's very seldom that we can see a quarterback that can do so many things with his legs and his arm. Now, if he were to have one of those type of games, and like you said, the 49ers lose in convincing fashion, okay, maybe. But I don't see them blowing out the San Francisco 49ers.
Neither do I. None of us do.
Yeah, like that's the hard part. But we also have to think about this. Lamar Jackson gets an opportunity against the Miami Dolphins as well next week. And so if you play, if he has one of those great games against the San Francisco 49ers, which we know is very difficult to do, and then you backdoor that by solidifying and clinching the conference and beating the Miami Dolphins playing at a high level, I believe then we get to talk about Lamar Jackson in that. And I think this begs like a bigger question. What is the MVP exactly? And how do we give it out? Because what I believe is no one is asked to do what Lamar Jackson has to do for the Baltimore Ravens to be successful. But even in what you're asked to do, you have to do that at a higher level than other people are being asked to on their team. And for what Brock Purdy is asked to do, he's executing at a level like we've never seen a San Francisco 49er quarterback execute on.
Đây các bạn, mình sẽ dán nó vào này. Dán keo vào đây. Đây, thì đây sẽ là cái phần thân của cái lọ hoa nha các bạn. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ đi cắt thêm cái phần đuôi cho nó nhé. Cái phần đuôi thì mình sẽ có cái phần đuôi màu xanh nhé. Đây, mình sẽ sử dụng cái phần màu xanh lá cây này để làm cái phần đuôi này. Thì nó sẽ có hai cái đuôi ở hai bên và hai cái đuôi này nó sẽ bằng nhau. Thì đây là các bạn sẽ cắt cho mình một cái tờ giấy màu xanh như này nha. Sau đó mình gập đôi vào. Đây, mình gập đôi vào như này. Và các bạn sẽ lấy cái phần bút chì để các bạn vẽ cái phần đuôi này lên cái tờ giấy này trước nhé. Mình sẽ vẽ cái đuôi đơn giản như này thôi các bạn. Đây, cái phần đuôi này. Vẽ xuống đây, sau đó nó cong ra đây nhé. Cong ra đây như này. Rồi, sau đó nó sẽ vòng lên đây. Đây, sau đó thì mình sẽ đi cắt cái phần đuôi này ra nha. Rồi, mình sẽ cắt cái đuôi này ra nhé các bạn. Đây, như vậy là khi mình cắt một lần thôi là mình đã có hai cái đuôi rồi. Các bạn sẽ mở nó ra như này cho mình. Và các bạn sẽ để nó nhìn này thì chúng ta sẽ có hai cái phần đuôi của cái lọ hoa này rồi. Và để cho cái phần đuôi này nó có thêm được cái sự nổi bật nha các bạn. Đây mình sẽ cắt thêm cái phần màu trắng để mình làm cái phần đuôi ở bên trong nhé. Đây mình sẽ tạo thêm cái phần điểm nhấn cho cái đuôi bằng cách là mình sẽ cắt thêm một cái lớp màu trắng nữa ở bên trong cái đuôi này. Thì các bạn sẽ vẽ nó như này cho mình nhé. Các bạn vẽ giống cái đuôi màu xanh nhưng mà nó sẽ bé hơn nhá. Đây. Rồi, tiếp theo vẽ vòng sang bên này.